Her scream was sharp enough to slice through the silent night of the empty corporate headquarters, echoing like a fragile glass heart falling toward concrete. The powerful woman who owned half the city, every skyline reflection, and every glowing office window, it seemed, was now cornered on the cold floor, trembling, her breath broken into terrified fragments. She stared up at the tall figure looming over her. Her frightened whisper shook the air as she clutched her disabled leg, unable to move. "Please don't hurt me, I can't walk," she begged with the desperation of someone who had spent too long pretending they were untouchable. But the janitor, the quiet shadow she had never once looked in the eye, slowly removed his cap. Tears glimmered in his eyes, revealing a secret he had buried deeper than any locked vault. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and that every human has a story behind their silence, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel bring more meaningful stories to life. She never knew nights could be this cold. Amelia Warren, age 33, was the youngest CEO of the rising luxury real estate empire, Warren Heights. Her world was marble floors and glass towers, designer clothes and power meetings. Everything about her looked invincible, but beneath that polished exterior was a soul stitched together by fractures. A car accident years ago had almost stolen her life. It did steal her ability to walk without pain. She hid it behind perfectly tailored pantsuits and private elevators. No stumbling in front of the board. No vulnerability allowed in the kingdom she built from fear. Her cane was always close but never visible. Vulnerability, she believed, was weakness. Tonight the universe disagreed. The building's power shut down without warning, plunging the offices into darkness. Amelia was finishing late paperwork, chasing perfection like a predator that had forgotten when to stop running. She tried to reach her cane, but her leg spasmed violently. It locked. She gasped and collapsed near the executive lounge. Her phone skittered away into the dark. The elevator was dead. Security must have already left. Nobody would expect the CEO to be crawling on the floor like a wounded bird, except the janitor, the one ghost who existed on every floor but belonged to none. Elijah was in his early 40s, with gentle eyes that often looked like they carried a memory too heavy to share. Employees barely noticed him. To them, he was part of the furniture. His mop and bucket were his closest friends. But tonight, as he did his final floor sweep, he heard the heavy crash of Amelia hitting the ground. He rushed toward the sound, flashlight flickering. His steps quickened when he heard her ragged breathing. He found her curled up, fear radiating from her like a chilling heat wave. For a moment, he froze. The woman who never noticed him, who made speeches about strength and dominance, had tears streaking her flawless face. Something in him cracked. He knelt, but she recoiled, her heartbeat frantic. She didn't know him. She didn't know he had once worn a different uniform, that his hands, now rough with cleaning chemicals, once wrote brilliant computer code, that he had once been celebrated as a rising tech innovator, that the world had trusted him until the world accused him. Elijah forced his voice steady, promising he wouldn't hurt her. His flashlight beam traced the pain etched into her leg. He recognized it too well. Pain that stays long after bones heal. Pain that steals independence. Pain that makes pride feel like a cage. He offered help, but she shook her head, stubborn even through fear. She had built her success on not depending on anyone. But a human heart can take only so much isolation before breaking. When she tried to move again, agony stole her breath. Elijah gently supported her back, lifting her with surprising strength. She didn't resist this time. She was shivering, but not from cold. The power of surrender can be terrifying. As he guided her through the dark hall, his flashlight died. Shadow swallowed them whole. Amelia clutched his sleeve, panic rising. He reassured her softly. He knew every emergency route, every inch of this building like it was his second skin. Because it was the closest thing to home he had left, he carried her through the deserted corridors, each step echoing a story neither had spoken. They reached the emergency stairwell, but her fear surged again. Her leg couldn't handle stairs. He told her he could carry her. She stared at him like that idea was both impossible and humiliating. For someone who had built her identity on strength, being lifted felt like defeat. Yet defeat sometimes tastes like the first breath of relief. He picked her up in a careful, steady embrace. She expected to feel small, but instead felt strangely safe. Memories of the accident flashed in her mind. The crunch of metal, the shattering glass, the pain that made her scream when she realized she could not stand. For so long she had kept that scream inside, pretending victory. Tonight the mask was broken. Elijah listened to her silence because he recognized it. Years ago, he stood in a courtroom accused of a cybercrime he didn't commit. Betrayed by a business partner, losing the company he created, he fell from promising genius to someone the world threw away. His wife left, taking their daughter. Depression dug its claws into his soul. Eventually, the only job he could find was holding a mop. So he learned how to disappear. And yet, here he was, seen by the last person he ever expected to see him. When they reached the lobby, emergency lights flickered. Amelia's strength seeped back slightly, but emotionally she was unraveling. She apologized. A single word that sounded more like a confession than a courtesy. He simply nodded. The air between them felt heavier, charged with truths they both avoided daily. She asked why. He worked here, but he just smiled sadly and shook his head. Not ready, not yet. The paramedics arrived soon after. Elijah quietly stepped away, returning to invisibility. But not to her. Not anymore. The next morning the office buzzed with gossip. The CEO had been injured. Who helped her? Why did she cry? Her pride tried to rebuild walls, but something had shifted permanently. Shadows couldn't erase last night. She saw the world differently. She saw him differently. Days passed. She observed him now, noticing the care he put into his work, the haunted sadness behind his calm smile, a dignity he held even in silence. She realized she had never asked his name, never wondered about his story. Power can make empathy shrink until only the reflection of oneself matters. One evening she found Elijah eating alone in the break room, his lunch plain and humble. She thanked him properly, her voice cracked not from fear but vulnerability. He said anyone would have done the same, but she knew that wasn't true. Not in a world where her value was tied to profit margins and status. She asked again about his past. This time, he told her. His words felt like pieces of a broken crown dropped on the table. A father searching for redemption. A man rebuilding from ruins. A human being too real for the mask of invisibility the world forced on him. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes. This was not weakness, it was awakening. She offered something he never expected. A chance. A return to where he once belonged. A position in the company's IT security department. A place his mind could breathe again. He hesitated, too used to disappointment. But she assured him that everyone deserves a rebirth. She wasn't giving a favor. She was correcting an injustice. Weeks rolled by. Elijah's brilliance shined like a star dragged from mud. He saved the company from a cyber attack the board didn't even know was happening. He earned respect, but most importantly, he earned back pieces of himself. Amelia, too, transformed. She stopped hiding her condition, began using her cane openly, allowed others to help when pain tried to steal her steps. Her leadership softened. She connected with employees, remembering every name. The queen came down from her tower and walked, or sometimes limped, among her people. They adored her more for her truth than they ever had for her strength. Elijah's daughter saw news articles about her father's success. A reunion followed, filled with tears warmer than sunlight, a second chance at family. A heart glued back together, and in the quiet halls of the headquarters, where two broken souls once collided in darkness, life had returned to the light. Humanity begins when judgment ends. Power is hollow unless it lifts others with it. If this story has touched even a corner of your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps more people discover stories that remind us what it means to be human. Before we end, I have a special request. Comment below one thing you believe everyone should remember about kindness. For Amelia and Elijah, fate did not arrive with trumpet fanfares or boardroom applause. It came in the shape of a blackout and a silent janitor with a forgotten dream. It arrived as fear and fell apart into trust. It came disguised as weakness but revealed what real strength looks like. The kind that grows from scars, not perfection. Every person you meet is carrying something unseen. Some are walking on broken legs. Others are walking on broken hearts, and yet we keep moving. Hoping someone will finally look close enough to notice we need help. So the next time you pass by someone you think you already understand, remember this story. Remember that a CEO can be fragile, a janitor can be a genius. And every soul has a secret that could change your world if you cared enough to ask. Thank you for watching, dear friends. Stay compassionate, stay curious, and keep believing in second chances.